Slices. It's Kiara with Home Slice Adulting coming to you, giving you Cynthia Bailey teas with my big hair don't care, like in her confessional. And today I'm going to review Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 9, Episode 1, the premiere. Now this is like my 4th time recording this, and I don't know why. I feel like this episode was just a little update episode. It was just kind of like a little teaser telling us what everybody is up to. But we'll just get through this. I haven't had the energy that I would like to have about one of my favorite reality shows. But let's get to it. We start off with Kandi, Todd, and Ace, and you know, we're happy to see that the baby is healthy. We're happy that Kandi has her, you know, new child and has her new husband, and all of that is great. And Kandi brings up the fact that when she started on this show that she was kind of the single one, and now everyone else is, you know, unhappy and divorced, and unhappy or divorced, and none of their relationships are really working out. So, you know, she's happy that, you know, everything's good on her side. Now this is the first time that I actually really kind of wasn't here for Todd. I've always liked Todd, but when she said that he's not the type of guy who wakes up in the middle of the night to change diapers, I have a problem with that. And, you know, God forbid my boyfriend do anything like that, or, you know, if he's my husband at the time, I will have a big problem with that. And him not being able to put the formula in the bottle in the right proportions, I'm not here for that. I wasn't here for Todd in that moment, but whatever. Next we'll talk about Kenya and more manner. I didn't like the little dig she tried to take at Portia about Portia's face being scary without makeup, when we all know whose oatmeal pie face looks scary without makeup. You know, good try, Kenya, but we saw right through that. Anyways, her house is progressing. I will say her house is very nice. Her house is very unique, and her house is Kenya's house. And you know, it reminded her of the architecture back in California. There's no other house like it on the block, and Kenya is doing things in her house the way that she wants to do it, and I can appreciate that. And I mean, she's living in the house, so she has more incentive to get the house finished in time, because she's actually living in her project. And she tells us that she you know, is having problems with Matt, that they've been together for a little under a year, and it's been about a month since she saw Matt, because Matt went ballistic in Mexico and kicked her door in about some text messages. And so because Kenya has been a victim of domestic abuse in the past, it's very good to know that even though things with Matt seem to be going well, that she still knows how to back out of a relationship with a guy who's too aggressive for her taste, and that she's not going to put up with that. So good on Kenya. So I think she's very involved in her home, because she is, you know, not trying to think about how things are with Matt. But I thought it was like very odd that she really cared what Sheree thought, and she was telling the contractor, you know, I don't want Sheree to come here and nitpick, which is something that Sheree would have done anyway, because it's Sheree. But whatever. And Sheree isn't anybody, so, you know, why care what Sheree thinks? And these women, none of these women know anything about a timeline or a deadline. We see later on that Kenya's getting ready for her housewarming, and she has this really vulnerable moment with Cynthia. And I actually felt sad for Kenya that she had a relationship that we all were happy for her. Like, if you're not a big fan of Kenya, you were still happy for her to be in a relationship with a guy that things were working with. Nobody wants to see, you know, anybody grow up and have a million cats, or in Kenya's case, a million little Shih Tzus, Shih Tzuing all over the place. So we were all very happy for her, and for things to kind of not work out, I think feels like a slap in the face to Kenya. And she wanted them to, you know, be in this house together, because he helped build it, you know, with his own hands. And yeah, I was really sad for her in that moment. But next we have Sheree in her chateau, and the house really is beautiful. It's very large, too large for a woman who's about to have an empty nest, and no man to put his belongings in his closet. But anyways, um, she's still, you know, making up excuses about the contractors not coming through. And, you know, we all know that it was her money that wasn't coming through. I mean, you know, just be real about it. Just be real about it. But she is taking all of the insults and all of the digs in stride. And she's like, if you all are not paying my bills, then I don't give a F about what you're saying. But truth be told, it wasn't like you were paying your bills either, Sheree. So, whatever. She is talking about the things that she wants in her house. She still wants a few fixtures. She still wants to decorate. And the guy tells her 6 weeks. And we'll see how long it really takes. But, I think that Sheree has a case of keeping up with the Joneses, and that everything that was in her house was about making people's jaws drop to the floor because Sheree has something to prove. Even before Sheree started building this house, Sheree has always been the person that wanted to kind of show off and show what she had, even in like the first and second season. And I mean, by finishing this house, she could have done any number of things. She could have, you know, sold the land and sold the skeleton of the house and, you know, scaled down to something that was more suitable for her family and for her budget. But she had to build this house because it's, not only is it a point of, you know, saving face, but it's also a point of her, you know, having something that nobody else has, this huge house that took, you know, 4 or 5 years to create, to finally be finished. And the real question is, can she keep the house? A house is long-term expenses, utilities, property taxes. Does Sheree have the income coming in to keep up the house? You can keep up with the Joneses, but can you keep up the house? And I know so many people in my own personal life who we see have these homes and have these cars, and then we see they have these jobs where the income doesn't match up, and then one thing you know, they're not living in the same house anymore, they're not driving the same car anymore. And I feel like that's something that could possibly happen to Sheree, because unlike Kenya, Sheree seems to only have one source of income, and that's Real Housewives of Atlanta. And if she does have another source of income, it's Bob. And please don't let it be Bob. But anyways, the thing about Kenya's house is, yes, it is smaller, but it is a house that Kenya can grow into because Kenya still wants to have a family. Kenya knows how to be smart about her money and, I guess, you know, save money on labor because she's helping out building the house herself. She has more incentive to get it done on time because she's living in the house, and it's a house that she can probably afford long term as far as the utilities and taxes and those type of things are concerned. Those expenses that are for the life, you know, of the house. So that's the only, you know, difference between them, is that Kenya has seemed to be a smarter homeowner just right off the bat. But as far as extravagance goes, I'll definitely give the extravagance prize to Sheree. So later on we see Sheree with her daughter Tiara. Is it Tiara? Tiara? Whatever. We see her with her daughter, and she's like, well, you know, she can stay in Townhouse Tiara and I can stay in Chateau Sheree. Now, from what I have heard, the house was at one point in Tiara's name, if it's not still in Tiara's name. Now, if my name was on a house, I better have, you know, the master suite. You're going to tell me I got to stay in my house? I got to stay in my townhouse, or you stay in Chateau Sheree that's in my name, which is, you know, Chateau Tiara? Whatever. Anyways, while she and Tiara are together, she gets a call from Kenya, and Kenya is giving her a phone invitation because the horse-drawn carriage, you know, was not going to pull up to Sheree's cardboard box underneath the freeway, or to the halfway house, or to her apartment complex, and have to put in a gate code to get in. So, you know, she calls and she's like, well, they were just throwing shade back and forth, and it was entertaining enough. But I don't want to see this all season. But anyways, Sheree ended up hanging up on her or whatever. When Sheree said that Kenya should be happy that Sheree showed up, who is Sheree? Who is Sheree? Anyways, we have Phaedra and Portia. I don't know about anybody else, but I really do not like the front of Phaedra's house. It is flat and it doesn't have anything ornate about it. There's no awning or no patio or nothing. I don't like the front of her house. But little Aiden opens the door. Portia gives them gifts, and then, you know, Phaedra's like, you know, excuse yourselves so that we can have, you know, divorcee talk. And they talk about getting back into the dating pool. And then there is a ring at the doorbell, and there is a horse-drawn carriage, you know, driven by a broke-down pimp in a white suit. And he hands her this, you know, velour purple pillow with a tiara and an invitation on it that is throwing shade at Portia by saying, you know, if you bring a +1, make sure they're hot and not a thought. So we know right away that Portia is not invited. But I will say, Phaedra and Kenya are both very over the top when they do things. The difference between them, though, is that Phaedra has the follow through and the money to follow through with doing, you know, events really big. So when her and Dwight get together to do an event, it really is over the top and it's big. But when Kenya does it, she doesn't quite have the follow through, and her stuff kind of doesn't make sense. So I wasn't a big fan of the carriage thing. I mean, it was different, but she should have really done it up and had maybe some trumpeters or something like that, trumpeteers. But it just fell flat for me. But anyways, we have, and Portia and Phaedra talk about Portia being her +1. So she's going to bring her to the housewarming. So we get to see how that goes. So next we have Cynthia. She's seeking counseling about getting a divorce. And she tells the lawyer, and he's like, "You get a divorce from Peter?" And I was like, no, she's getting a divorce from her other husband. Of course she's getting a divorce from Peter. And I'm really happy that Cynthia is seeing what everyone has seen all along. She's seeing what her mother and her sister saw back when they hid the marriage certificate. She's seeing what we all saw when Peter became very irresponsible with his businesses and with his money, and he became irresponsible with her money and purchasing large buildings and properties without telling Cynthia and telling her at the last minute. I mean, all of those things don't make for a great partner, they don't make for a great husband, and they don't make for a great marriage. So I'm glad that Cynthia is seeing what everyone else is seeing, and that she understands that she can't be like Peter and just stay in the relationship just to stay in the relationship. You know, people sometimes stay in a marriage just to be able to say that they never got divorced, or, you know, or their divorce was not an option. But Cynthia knows that this relationship isn't working for her anymore. She's not getting out of it what she wants to get out of it. So she's getting out of it. So I'm happy for Cynthia about that. I know it's going to be like a really tough time for her, but you know, I think I'll actually come to like Cynthia this time around. She said that her and Peter have not seen each other, or, you know, they've been apart for 5 months, and she doesn't want alimony. She just wants the house that's in her name, and thank goodness it's in her name, because she knows that Peter is irresponsible with money, and you know, don't put it in his name. They do have a prenup. Her hair was way too big in the confessional. I mean, you know, this is my real hair, and I made it big so that I could be, you know, like Cynthia, but hers is way too big in the confessional. I feel like we all knew that Peter was going to be a B word about this divorce, and when she FaceTimed him, we saw just that. And, you know, him saying, you know, I'm here with my new girlfriend. Oh, but it's my business. I don't know where the prenup is, but ask your mama. Maybe it's where the marriage license is. That was actually a little funny, but I know that Cynthia wasn't having it. And I think Cynthia feels really bad about how her actions are making Peter feel bad. But I think Cynthia is definitely going to follow through, and they're actually finally divorced. Their divorce was final, I believe. And next we see Portia in anger management. I think we're all happy to see that she is getting some help and, you know, beginning to take responsibility for her actions. I thought it was weird that she was bullied and awkward in high school, and had suicidal thoughts. And I would have thought that she was kind of like the ditzy cheerleader in high school, and that she had, you know, the body. But some people blossom later on in life, and that's what Portia did. And, you know, look at her now. So next we have the housewarming, and Sheree threw shade from the beginning of the driveway all the way up to the to be continued sign that came across the TV at the end of the episode. She talked about how hot it was. She talked about how everything was not finished. She said everything was dusty. Everybody had titty sweat, including the dogs. And everything about what Sheree said, I mean, a lot of it was funny. Some of the stuff was like, okay, you're going too far, saying that Kenya's whole house could fit in her master suite, and we just saw her master suite. She's being generous. But anyways, at least Sheree bought a gift. So when it comes to Sheree and Kenya being shady, I think they have a really good back and forth. I think that they are like equally matched as far as going back and forth goes. I thought it was interesting how Kenya didn't really get mad at that white couple when they mentioned Matt, but how mad Kenya got at everybody when they mentioned Walter. Yeah, I see you. But Sheree started saying, you know, I didn't break ground on my house till 2012, so it only took 4 years and not 5. It took 5. Because you were getting your bearings in that first year. You were trying to get your coins together. It still counts. So, anyways, we see that she says that Kenya says that she didn't invite Portia because she wanted to feel safe in her own house. And I don't understand why these women can't see that Portia is a reactor. She's really not an initiator. And people start with her and get her riled up, and some people do it on purpose. And you know, like I said, she's just a reactor, and if they don't mess with her, then you know, they don't really have anything to worry about. But whatever, Portia has a nice car. She picks up Phaedra. They head on over. And when Portia shows up, you know, she's the elephant in the room. And Sheree is just living it up like, oh, look who's here. And I'm like, Sheree is just so messy. What is wrong with her? Anyways, so next time we see that Matt shows up to the housewarming. Now, if Matt showed up to the housewarming, I don't know why Kenya would waste her time, you know, talking to Portia about showing up uninvited. Matt was definitely uninvited, so we'll see how that unfolds. We also see Cynthia talking to her daughter about the intense arguments that Cynthia and Peter used to have. So I'm pretty interested in hearing about that, because divorces are always really hard on children. So I'm kind of interested in seeing that dynamic. And also we see Sheree and Kenya arguing, I guess, about how Sheree was at Kenya's housewarming or whatever. So that was the episode. You know, follow me on Twitter. I'll put my Twitter handle down here. I do live tweet the episodes if I am at home in time enough. You can join the discussion. If you can't, you know, live tweet, you can definitely put it down in the comments. I do read comments. So please be respectful. I hear Real Housewives of Atlanta is the time when fans and stands go crazy and get, you know, intense, and I don't want any of that. Just be very respectful with your opinion, regardless of whether I agree or not. So you guys have an excellent night. Peace out, home slices.